Am I the asshole for calling my friend irresponsible for what she did while babysitting my child? I, female 29, have a phobia of horses. I put phobia in quotation marks because phobias are irrational fears, and I don't think my fear is irrational, but everyone else in my life keeps calling it a phobia. I do like animals, but horses are just not it for me. I don't like being around them, and I have no interest in petting them or riding them. When I was around 8 years old, a horse attacked me unprovoked and nearly killed me, and I was hospitalized. My best friend Eliza, female 29, is the opposite to me. When we were in high school, she was your stereotypical horse girl. She owns some horses of her own now and is still obsessed with horses. I don't interact with Eliza's horses and never have. I respect that we can have our own interests, and Eliza and I have different things to talk about. I have a daughter Tanya, female 4, and Eliza occasionally kindly volunteers to babysit for me. Eliza has her own daughter of similar age and they play together nicely. Last week, I asked Eliza to babysit for me so me and my partner could go to my cousin's child-free wedding, and she agreed. I paid Eliza to babysit and gave her some extra money to get herself and the girls takeout. Well, when after I picked Tanya up and was driving home, Tanya was telling me about how she sat on a horsey. At first I thought Tanya was talking about a toy rocking horse, but then she told me about how she fed the horsey some apples. When I got home, I called Eliza and asked if she had my daughter interact with her horses. At first Eliza denied everything and said she didn't know what I was talking about, but when I said Tanya told me about it, Eliza admitted she held Tanya whilst she was sat on one of her horses, and let Tanya help feed one of her horses. Eliza went on and on about how safe it is, and that she was in complete control of the situation. That the horse was standing completely still when she held Tanya on the horse's back. I told Eliza that what she did was irresponsible and that doing it behind my back was unacceptable. I was so angry and uncomfortable. She said that I'm overreacting because of my phobia and said that Tanya was completely safe, and went on about how well trained her horses are and how she knows so much about horses. I said I didn't care and that she should think about what she did. My family thinks I overreacted and that I should apologize to Eliza. That I'm projecting my phobia onto my daughter. Am I the asshole? ETA. Eliza never wears a helmet when riding her horses, so I highly doubt she put one on my daughter. I don't think she even owns any helmets. I would have been okay with Tanya feeding, petting the horses, but Eliza putting her on a horse's back made me very uncomfortable. ETA. Eliza keeps her horses in a field that's around an hour drive from her actual home, so I didn't think she'd take my daughter there. Not the asshole. I'm confused by these YTA responses. She took your child to an activity without discussing with you first. That is the main issue here. In addition to that, she lied about it. There's a level of trust that was broken here and it's being blamed on original poster's phobia. She lied to you about what she did with your child. She broke your trust and doesn't see the issue with her actions. This I don't have a phobia of horses. I would be upset if a babysitter did an activity behind my back and lied about it. Horse riding isn't inherently dangerous, but neither is it inherently safe. There is a level of risk involved here, and the parents should be consulted prior to this sort of task for permission. Even if you disagree on parents needing to give permission for babysitters to take them to activities, how can PPL think you are asshole for being upset a babysitter lied about what they did with your kid? What a breach of trust. It is not unreasonable to think that someone will inform you if they are taking your child on an excursion an hour from their home, regardless of activity. Edit spelling edit. When I say not inherently dangerous, I mean there is no guarantee injury will occur, particularly in this situation, which was described feeding a horse and sitting on a horse held by an adult on the ground while the horse did not move. Can injury still occur in that situation? Yes. But just being around horses isn't inherently dangerous. All things have risk. In my view, if something is inherently dangerous, it means injury is more likely to occur than not. With safety precautions, risk can be minimized around horses. But that also doesn't mean it's safe. I do agree actually riding horses is a different kettle of fish, and even more so parental permission is needed. 4 is a perfectly acceptable age for horse riding. I've taught 4-year-olds participating in gymkhanas etc. But their parents support horse riding and take the appropriate safety measures to protect their kid and feel safe. They would never place another parent's child on their horse without permission, and generally the parent there to be doubly sure they feel safe. I have been around horses my whole life. I started riding before I could walk. I love horses. I would still be super pissed if someone took my kids riding without telling me. Because there is an element of risk involved. Any legitimate riding stable will require a waiver to be signed by the guardian regarding potential injuries. There's a reason for that waiver. In addition, most states have laws which absolve horse owners of liability. That wouldn't be necessary if being around horses were so harmless. I grew up around horses as well, and my friends weren't allowed near the horses unless we had explicit permission from the parents. I really don't want to give a judgment because what I actually see here is a missed opportunity. I absolutely understand why you are upset that she initially lied. She's your best friend, and not a random person, so I'm assuming she panicked, because she thought she was doing a normal, helpful thing, and at some point realized she should have cleared it with you first. On your end, though, this is your best friend. If you don't want your daughter to go through life feeling the effects of your own trauma, isn't she the perfect person to help? If you trust your best friend, could you see where it would be beneficial to your daughter to have exposure to horses? If you're open to this, talk to your friend and see if you can come to an agreement, set boundaries, limits on what you are okay, not okay with, safety rules, etc. I think it would be much better if you weren't there when it happened, because your anxiety would worry your daughter. Try to think about what's best for your daughter. Not that she has to love horses and be around them all the time, but that she'd be okay to be around a horse or take an occasional pony ride. I'm so sorry for what happened to you, but please don't pass that fear on to your kiddo. I, personally, would probably have a hard time trusting someone's judgment around my kid after they put them in a situation they knew I'd find terrifying without even giving me a heads up. Not to mention, I would not be comfortable with someone taking my 4-year-old over an hour away from where I thought they'd be, again, without even a heads up. I'm shocked her friend is a parent of a similarly aged child, because she made some pretty fucked up judgment calls here that I think most parents would be uncomfortable with. She was treating the child she was babysitting with the same as she would her own child. It's hardly weird judgment calls. Yeah, that's not how babysitting works. Just because you'd put your own kid on a horse with no helmet, even for a second, doesn't mean it's a safe or reasonable call. But more generally, babysitters absolutely should be expected to mind the child in a way the parent is comfortable with. If you spank your kids, would that mean it's okay to spank a child you're watching for the afternoon? Obviously not. A babysitter doesn't have free license to do whatever they wish with a child in their care. Everyone sucks here. Projecting your phobia onto your child is one of the worst things you can do for your child. Working on your mental health to get to that point needs to be a priority. Banning your daughter from horses isn't helping anyone. Her learning how to be around them safely is beneficial. But lying to you was wrong. You need to be able to trust the person caring for your child, and she broke that trust. Not the asshole. Even if you had no phobia, she should have asked you, the parent, permission before being near any horse, or any large animal. Yes, I see people comparing it to fear of spiders, etc. A horse is a totally different ballgame. I've seen them panic or just get startled. They are extremely powerful and can hurt themselves and others very quickly. One woman I knew had been around horses her entire life and got kicked. The kick lacerated her liver and she was in the hospital for a few weeks. Exactly. They are still animals and should be respected as such. They can't reason like a human and they respond on instinct. My cousin was bitten twice by horses and she wasn't even doing anything. I was there. My friend who's worked with horses her whole life got thrown off of her own horse and had to get both shoulders and both knees repaired. Horses are one of the things you ask parents about. They can be quite dangerous, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Not the asshole. First off, it's not a phobia, it's trauma. Either is totally justified. I hate horses too, BTW. Second, if Eliza genuinely thought it wasn't a big deal, etc., she wouldn't have denied it when you first confronted her about it. Exactly what I was thinking. Everyone commenting conveniently forgot that she lied when Op first asked about the horses. I'm a horse girl and am definitely biased, but for your edit alone, not the asshole. I always ride with a helmet, and anyone who doesn't is looking for some long-term complications. Even the best horses can be unpredictable sometimes. No matter who gets on a horse, always wear a helmet. If she is putting your kid on a horse without a helmet, I would be beyond pissed. Especially when she didn't tell you in advance. That is putting your child in a dangerous situation that they should have never been in the first place. Especially because you are paying her to keep her safe. Fellow horse girl here, and I agree. I don't even get on my horse without my air vest anymore after my hospital stay. Beyond that, I also think it's inappropriate for someone to let any child ride a horse without asking the parents, especially one that young. But the child was probably very safe, since she was just holding her on her back. An original poster probably does need to work on not transferring her fears to her daughter. At first Eliza denied everything. She knew you weren't okay with it and so she lied. It doesn't matter whether I or other people here think your discomfort with horses is irrational or whether people here feel all fuzzy about the precious horsies. The plain fact is, it is 100% unacceptable that she had your daughter participating in activities with which she knew you would not be comfortable, as evidenced by her lying about it after the fact. Then the lying about it is an additional affront, not the asshole. Also, the people calling your quite rational aversion to horses a phobia are being shitty and dumb and also ableist. Sorry for that. 100% not the asshole. Lifelong horsewoman here. People personify horses as these sweet, caring animals that would never hurt someone, but they are in fact prey animals who sometimes fart themselves into a spook. I've seen the sweetest, dullest lesson horse whirl and bolt because a bird flew out of some grass. This is why every lesson barn and trainer has you sign a waiver before you get anywhere near a horse. Especially if you're not wearing a helmet. In the last 5 years, the horsewomen I know have suffered the following falls. Spook because a cat launched itself at the horse's neck. Spook that resulted in a TBI. No one knows why the horse spooked. Spook because a delivery driver slammed his truck tailgate shut. Spook because a bird flew out of the grass, or flew into a door. Spook because a hand dumped a wheelbarrow full of muck into a bin. They are amazing, beautiful creatures, but do not ever think they are safe. In my state, barn owners, etc., are not liable for any accidents or injuries. This is written into state law. That's how unpredictable horses are. Heck yes. Horses are 2,000 pounds of pure muscle with very little brain working all of it. Also, I might be biased because horses are assholes. I used to get locked in the barn with the dog by the horses because they were trying to eat the dog food, or they get stuck in the barbed wire fence, or the fact that I was just minding my own business eating a plum and I got run down bitten and they stole my plum. Horses are assholes. Not the asshole. I say this having owned horses and being an avid rider in the past. 1. Horses are never entirely safe. It doesn't matter how kid-safe the horse in question is, it is never completely safe. I would never let someone else's child around one without permission. This includes very, very safe horses. 2. It doesn't sound like your friend's horses are even handled in a safe and responsible manner from your comments. It sounds more like she likes horses so she got some and leaves them in a field. 3. I have seen 2 serious accidents happen with well-trained horses, being handled in an extreme safe manner, because accidents happen. I have seen way more by irresponsible people. Far too many to remember. As someone educated on this topic, I would liken what happened to letting a 9-year-old play around unsupervised without a helmet on a dirt bike. It happens all the time and I wouldn't judge people who let their kids play with them. Not acceptable without parental approval though. All the people saying everyone sucks here, you are the asshole, are not familiar with horse safety and horses. Not the asshole. Holy fucking shit, not the asshole. I can't believe the amount of people calling you ta. Remove your phobia of horses and retell the story. I had a friend babysit my toddler and they placed them on a horse without notification or permission. That's fucking insane that someone thinks they can do that with someone else's kid and not only hide it from them but then lie when confronted. But even that isn't it. She did that, which is questionable, but she lied and denied and coached had a child caught in the middle. Those are huge issues. And then the rest of it just makes it worse. ETA. Not coached. And she took the kid an hour away to do it. So she had to plan that out. She had an entire hour to decide it wasn't a good choice and turn around. She didn't do that. Everyone keeps saying you're projecting your fear here, but I don't see that at all. Projecting your fear would be stuff like telling your daughter that horses are scary. At no point have you said anything that suggests you have told your daughter anything about horses, only that you privately brought it up with your friend. The issue here is not your fear but the fact your friend knowingly did an activity, specifically, putting your child on the back of a large animal. You say yourself that if she had just been feeding the horse it wouldn't be an issue, that you were not comfortable with your very young child participating in and then tried to lie to you about it. In no way are you at fault here. Not the asshole. I was all set for YTA, but this point is the clincher. That she lied. And denied. That's the actual problem, not the horse part. ETA. Not the asshole. What did it for me was the edit where it's mentioned the horses are kept an hour away, and that Op's best friend doesn't use helmets. Right? An hour one way? This is absolutely planned in advance, which means she had time to contact original poster. I love horses, but all of this is just gross. Not the asshole. It doesn't matter if it's horses, swimming pools, four-wheelers, all things you can find on country property big enough for horses. The bottom damn line is a parent gets to decide what is safe for their child. I mean seriously, all the "you are the asshole" folks would be screaming if this was an in-law overstepping or a childcare worker. She paid the woman, she has her safety guidelines as a parent, and then on top of everything the first thing that woman did was lie about what her daughter experienced at her house. Seriously, read the entire thing and stop judging her fears and look at a situation that would send most parents through the roof and is surrounded by waving, lying red flags. Exclamation mark. Not the asshole because she didn't ask your permission, then lied about it. Everyone saying that YTA. Because of your phobia are glossing over the fact that your friend took your daughter someplace you hadn't discussed and potentially put her in danger. And then lied to you about it. Took her daughter someplace they hadn't discussed that's an hour away. I live about an hour from a beach, and if I picked up my child one day and he said, "Mom, we went to the beach," without my knowledge I'd be all kinds of what a fuck? It's way different from going to the park 10 minutes down the road. And on top of that to lie about it. Not the asshole. I have a horse and I know how easily they can spook. I've had part of my foot broke because he stomped down while I cleaned out his sore foot. She is 4. I wouldn't be comfortable putting a 4-year-old on a horse without the parents' permission, a helmet and me on the horse in the chance the horse did spook. Your fear is completely rational. That would be a horrible thing to go through. And Eliza denying it first tells me she knew you'd be upset about her putting her on a horse without your permission. There's a reason if you go somewhere to do a trail ride in a group there's a consent form parents sign for their kids. Finally, another horse person who understands. No matter how tame they are, or how experienced you are, horses are unpredictable at times. And I find it extremely disrespectful for her friend to have done this knowing how she feels, without a helmet and most likely not bridled, or saddled, considering they were there to just feed them and say hey. Sounds like there were zero precautions taken here, so regardless of permission she's taking a big risk with someone else's kid. Negligent for a woman who apparently grew up around horses. Everyone sucks here, but really gently. Your friend should check what's okay when babysitting, and you shouldn't project your fears onto your children. I was thrown from a horse as a teenager, and helping my friend feed hers eventually allowed me to sit back on one, never moving, but now I don't ever panic and can pat one on the nose and interact with them when my nephews do. Original poster said she would have let her daughter pet and feed them but not ride it. That isn't projecting her fears onto her kid, that's setting rules on an animal that nearly killed her when she was her kid's age. The friend knew she did wrong, that's why she lied.